Have you ever wondered if what you're seeing in the corner of your eye, those quick, unexplained shadows, aren't just your imagination, but a divine signal? What if heaven is trying to show you something? What if the veil between this world and the unseen is thinning, and your spiritual sight is beginning to activate, not to scare you, but to prepare you? Because here's a truth most people ignore. When God begins to reveal the other side, He doesn't send a loud trumpet. He sends silence and shadows. He starts showing the invisible to those who were never meant to live an ordinary life. And if you're watching this right now, chances are you've already felt it. Maybe you've sensed something shifting around you. Maybe you've felt watched, but not in fear, in discernment. Maybe you've walked into a room and felt like something had just left or entered. This isn't a coincidence. This is spiritual warfare. This is prophetic awakening. This is God showing you what most people are too blind to see. The enemy has done everything possible to make you believe you're crazy, that it's all in your head, that your dreams, your sensations, those whisper-like warnings you feel in prayer are just anxiety. But chosen ones don't suffer from overthinking. They suffer from overseeing. They are tuned in to frequencies others have never even noticed. You're not being haunted. You're being equipped. And that's exactly why the shadows have started appearing. In Scripture, every major shift in prophetic time was preceded by a supernatural encounter. Joseph saw shadows in dreams. Ezekiel saw beings with eyes all over them. Daniel saw visions while others were asleep. And now in this generation, God is doing it again. But He's not using burning bushes or parted seas. He's using shadows, whispers, impressions. And only those with spiritual ears to hear and spiritual eyes to see will understand what it means. If you've ever felt a calling in the dark, when no one was around, no music was playing, no voices were speaking, but something inside you said, "Look deeper," then this message is for you, because God is revealing the other side, but only to those who are spiritually mature enough to handle what that means. The shadows aren't threats, they are invitations to discern, to pray, to prepare. The enemy doesn't chase the lost, he torments the chosen, and when you begin to see what others ignore, it's because your mission requires vision, prophetic vision, and not everyone is ready for that, but you are. That's why your nights have felt heavier. That's why certain people have started distancing themselves from you. That's why you've been more sensitive to environments, sounds, dreams, numbers. You are being awakened, not just to see, but to lead. And if the shadows have started showing up, that means heaven is preparing to expose the full picture. You weren't called to walk blind. You were chosen to walk aware. The shadows are not the end. They are the beginning of revelation, a signal that the spiritual realm is drawing closer, and the ones who can see it are the ones who will lead the shift. And maybe, just maybe, you've been feeling this for a long time, but didn't know what to do with it. You kept it to yourself. You stayed silent because you thought no one would understand, but let me tell you something right now. You are not alone. There's a remnant rising, a generation of chosen ones who don't fit in the world because they were never meant to, a generation who prays in secret, who sees things others don't, who are no longer asking God for blessings, but for clarity, for purpose, for strength to carry what's coming. If you've been hearing God more clearly, if you've been seeing things more deeply, if your heart has been stirred in the night and your soul has been aching for answers, you're in the right place. And this moment right now is not random. It's an appointment, because God is calling His chosen to gather, to speak, to stand watch. And it starts here, with prayer. So I want you to do something right now. Drop your prayer request in the comments. Be bold, be honest. Whether it's healing, clarity, protection, family restoration, or confirmation of your calling, we're going to read them, and we're going to pray together. This isn't just a video, it's a movement, a prophetic place where the remnant connects. And your prayer may be the very thing someone else is carrying too. So write it, speak it, and believe that God still moves when we agree. And if you've made it this far, if your spirit has been stirred and you know that this message was speaking directly to you, don't scroll away. Hit that like button to let the algorithm know this message matters. And subscribe if you haven't yet, because this is just the beginning. Heaven is still speaking, and every video from here on out will go deeper into the revelation, the signs, and the spiritual truths being poured out right now. You're not just watching, you're aligning. And the ones who align are the ones who activate. You've started seeing things no one else seems to notice. Shadows where there should be none. Movements at the edge of your vision. Rooms that feel too full, even when you're alone. It doesn't make sense in the natural. And that's exactly the point. Because what's happening to you isn't a mental illusion. It's not confusion. It's not fear. It's revelation. The veil is tearing. The invisible realm is becoming visible. And only those whom God has called to be alert, those whom he has marked as his chosen ones, are starting to see what others are not prepared to handle. This isn't fantasy. This is spiritual reality, and it's intensifying. The atmosphere around you is shifting because heaven is pulling back the curtain. Not everyone is supposed to see, but if you are, it's because God is preparing you for what's coming. The world around you might call it strange. They might say it's anxiety, paranoia, or exhaustion, but deep down you know that something divine is happening. The shadows aren't chasing you. They're revealing what has always been there, hidden, quiet, waiting for the right moment to be unveiled. God doesn't just pour out visions on anyone. He entrusts them to those who are ready to receive with reverence. And if you've started seeing beyond the surface, it means you're being trained in the spirit. Heaven is not silent. It's strategic. And right now it's selecting those who can see beyond the ordinary. You've been noticing details that don't belong. You feel when something enters a room. You sense when someone lies, even if they speak softly. Your discernment has sharpened, not because you asked for it, but because you've been called to carry it. The veil is not just between heaven and earth. It's between blindness and awakening, between distraction and revelation. And for the chosen ones, that veil is thinning. The more you lean into prayer, the more you study the Word, the more you open your spirit to divine truth, the more clearly you begin to see, not with your eyes, but with your spirit. That's why some rooms feel darker than others. That's why some people's presence makes your skin crawl. You're not being dramatic, you're being tuned. You're being aligned to heaven's frequency, and what used to be invisible is now unavoidable. It's hard, isn't it, to see what others don't, to feel misunderstood, to carry questions you can't fully explain. But that's the cost of being set apart. When the prophets of Scripture had their eyes opened, they never returned to life as usual. Seeing changes everything. Once you've glimpsed the other side, normal no longer satisfies. And that's what God is doing in you. He's breaking your attachment to surface-level living. He's removing the comfort of spiritual blindness so you can operate in authority. Shadows are not always evil. Sometimes they are warnings. Sometimes they are confirmations. Sometimes they are the echo of a presence watching, guiding, testing your readiness. Don't be quick to rebuke everything. Sometimes God shows you a shadow, so you'll ask him what it means, because asking is the beginning of understanding. And when the veil tears, understanding becomes your weapon. You've been chosen not just to survive the darkness, but to interpret it, to walk through it with discernment. You're not seeing things, you're being shown things. And that distinction is everything. The more you surrender to prayer, the more clearly you'll see, not just shadows, but purposes, not just movements, but messages. There are moments when God reveals the shadow before he reveals the shape. Before he shows you what's coming, he teaches you how to perceive it. This is that moment, and if you're feeling it, if this is resonating in your soul, then it's not coincidence. It's confirmation. If you've ever looked into a room and known something else was there, if you've ever walked into a space and felt watched, if you've ever had your heart race without knowing why, this is your signal. You are being called into clarity. The veil is no longer your boundary, it's your breakthrough. And if you're experiencing this, if you've seen what others miss, comment below, I saw the shadow. Let this be the moment your vision is confirmed. Let it awaken someone else. Let it show the algorithm that this word needs to go further, that there are others out there like you, ready to see more. Most people fear the shadows. They label them darkness, evil, or imagination. But what if they're not meant to scare you? What if the shadows are signs, coded signals from the unseen, invitations to look beyond the surface and into the divine? What if they're not there to haunt you, but to prepare you? You see, when God begins to awaken a chosen one, he doesn't always send thunder or dreams full of light. Sometimes he sends silence. Sometimes he sends shadows, because only those with spiritual eyes will recognize them, not as fear, but as formation. In the world's eyes, a shadow is a void, but in the kingdom it's a veil. And when that veil begins to move, it's not random, it's revelation. When you walk into a room and sense something, but see nothing. When your sleep is disrupted by the feeling that something's standing over you, not with malice, but with mystery. When the hairs on your arms rise, not from fear, but from frequency. Those are not accidents. That is heaven exposing you to spiritual training. The shadows you're seeing are not here to frighten you. They are there to calibrate you. God is developing your discernment. He's allowing you to sense things others ignore so that you can lead when others are lost. You're not broken. You're being sharpened. And in order to sharpen a blade, it must be pressed. That's what this is. The world says, if it's dark, it must be bad. But Scripture is filled with moments when God moved in the shadows. It was in the night that God spoke to Samuel. It was in the darkness of a cave that Elijah heard the whisper, and it was in the middle of a stormy night that Jesus walked on water toward the disciples. The shadows are not curses, they're classrooms. You're not hallucinating. You're being hunted, but not by evil. You're being pursued by purpose. The enemy wants you to believe you're crazy because he's terrified of you waking up to what you're becoming. The fear you feel, it's not because of what's in the room. It's because your spirit recognizes that you're not alone, not in a bad way, but in a prophetic way. Think about it. When you're in prayer and you feel something shift, when you're reading Scripture and a verse suddenly burns into your spirit, when you're walking in your home and feel something watching, not with malice but with intent, that's not paranoia, that's presence. And it's time to stop dismissing the supernatural as psychological. The chosen ones are not afraid of the dark. They were born for it. These moments are not mistakes, they are missions. God is testing your spiritual radar. He's allowing you to feel the weight of the invisible so that when the visible shakes, you'll still stand. This is training in shadows. You're being groomed to operate in realms others pretend don't exist. You are being trusted with territory that requires more than eyes. It requires insight. The presence of shadows in your life means God is getting ready to reveal something deeper. You may be one dream away, one fast away, one midnight prayer away from understanding why the shadows have increased. And let me tell you this, you wouldn't be seeing this if you weren't ready. And here's the most important thing. When you see a shadow, don't run. Don't panic. Don't assume it's demonic. Ask, discern, lean in, pray. What you perceive in fear, you miss in faith. But what you perceive in discernment, you inherit with purpose. This isn't about being spooky. This is about being spiritually sensitive. Heaven is waking you up, and shadows are just the first layer of sight. Now, if you've experienced this, if you've seen something shift around you that you couldn't explain, don't stay silent. I want you to go to the comments right now and type, "I see what others don't." That simple phrase could connect you with others who are walking through the same transformation. And it tells the algorithm that this message is reaching the ones it was meant for. There's a reason you've been feeling different lately. A reason you've been sensing things, dreaming more vividly, waking up in the middle of the night with an urgency you can't explain. It's not random. It's not confusion. It's not stress. It's a calling. A shift is happening in the spirit, and God is summoning those he has chosen to operate in the invisible. Not everyone will see it. Not everyone will hear it. But you were born to discern it. You're not crazy. You're not imagining things. You're not alone in this. That discomfort you feel isn't a problem. It's a sign that your spiritual senses are waking up. God isn't revealing himself to the comfortable. He's calling out to the seekers, to those whose hearts can no longer be satisfied by the surface. You've begun to notice patterns, numbers, signs, whispers in silence, shadows that flicker in the corner of your vision. The world may dismiss it as distraction, but heaven calls it preparation. You see, the realm of the unseen is not a mystery for everyone. It's a dimension opened only to those who have been spiritually aligned. You've been hearing your name without anyone speaking it. You've been feeling a pull without a clear direction. That's because you're being invited to see what others ignore. You're not seeing things, you're seeing truth. And the truth is this: the veil between the natural and the supernatural is getting thinner. And those with eyes to see and ears to hear are being called into formation. God is not looking for the loud. He's looking for the sensitive, and your sensitivity is not weakness. It's a weapon, that tug on your spirit, that gut feeling, that sense of something being off even when everything looks normal. That's discernment. It's your signal. The chosen aren't called through lightning bolts. They're activated through silence, through patterns, through deep knowing. If you've been feeling like you're being prepared for something you can't explain, that's because you are. The invisible world is sending invitations, and you've been marked to respond. This is why the things that used to excite you no longer satisfy, why certain conversations feel empty, why rooms you used to love now feel too small. You're outgrowing your former dimensions because your spirit is expanding. God is increasing your bandwidth to carry revelation, but to receive it you must release what's familiar. That's why he's calling you out of comfort and into clarity, into the unseen, into the unknown, into the divine. The calling doesn't come with instructions. It comes with invitations, and only the spiritually alert will respond. If you've been sensing that something greater is approaching, if you've been unable to return to the way things were, it's because the realm of revelation is pulling you forward, not backward, not sideways, forward, into more, into depth, into discernment, into divine timing. Every time you hear your name but no one is around, it's a test. Every time you feel watched but can't explain why, it's an alert. Every time you're woken up with a phrase or number repeating in your head, it's not coincidence, it's code. These are signs that you're not just alive in the natural, you're awake in the spirit. And that awakening is dangerous to the enemy. That's why the warfare has intensified. That's why distractions are multiplying. Because if you ever fully step into what you're being called to, everything around you will shift. You weren't called to play it safe. You were called to walk on water, to pray in the midnight hour, to stand guard when others sleep. You were called to discern what is invisible and interpret what is eternal. And right now the Spirit of God is whispering to those who have ears to hear. He's assigning watchers. He's raising intercessors. He's activating prophets. And you feel it. You've felt it for weeks, months, maybe even years. And now, it's time to acknowledge that you are being summoned. You don't need a pulpit to be prophetic. You don't need a stage to be spiritual. You need sensitivity, you need stillness, you need obedience. That's what makes you dangerous, that's what sets you apart. The world won't understand. Many will mock, some will walk away. But those who stay, those who obey, will be used to carry revelation into places where religion has failed. If this is speaking to something deep in your soul, if your spirit is stirring as you hear these words, then it's time to step into alignment. Not with trends, not with titles, but with truth. You are being called to the invisible so that you can affect the visible, and no one can take that away from you. If you've felt this, if you've seen it, if you've known deep in your bones that God is calling you higher, leave a comment right now saying, "I see it too." This lets heaven know you're listening. It lets the algorithm know this video matters, and it tells others that they're not alone in the calling. It always begins in the dark. The world may praise the light, but heaven often initiates transformation in the shadows. It was in the darkness of the prison that Joseph dreamed what would shape nations. It was in the pit, not the palace, where his gift was forged. It was in the stillness of the lion's den, where Daniel saw not death, but divine presence. Angels standing guard in the midnight silence. These weren't moments of defeat, they were portals. And if you've been walking through darkness lately, this message is for you. The chosen are not shaped by comfort. They are formed in the hidden places. Those long nights of silence, the seasons of isolation, the hours where prayer feels unanswered and vision feels unclear. But it's there, in the stillness, that the voice of God begins to speak with thunderous clarity. He doesn't shout over chaos, he whispers in the dark. And only those willing to stay in the shadows long enough will hear what others miss. You may not understand why you've been withdrawn lately, why friendships have faded, why your passions have shifted, why the lights around you feel dimmer. But what feels like isolation is actually incubation. God hides his chosen not to punish them, but to prepare them, to sharpen their discernment, to break them away from the distractions that dilute their destiny. If you're in the dark, it's because heaven has something to show you that can't be revealed in the noise. The revelation doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens when the spotlight is gone. It happens when it's just you, your thoughts, your fears, and God. And in that silence, if you're patient enough to stay, something begins to shift. You begin to sense things more clearly. Patterns begin to emerge. Scriptures start coming alive in ways they never did before. Dreams become more vivid. Nighttime becomes sacred, not because you're lost, but because you're being located. And here's the truth. Most people run from the dark. They fear it. They avoid it. They label it demonic. But not the chosen. The chosen recognize that God speaks in dimensions, and one of his clearest frequencies is silence. The night is not a curse. It's a corridor, a transition space between the old and the new. And if you've been brave enough to walk it alone, you're not lost. You're closer to the voice than you've ever been. The reason your spirit is unsettled is because your sight is evolving. You're no longer satisfied with surface-level Christianity. You crave depth. You crave mystery. You crave the sound of God's whisper in the places most people fear to go. That's not rebellion, it's revelation. You were designed to hear what others ignore. And to receive that, God must lead you through the unfamiliar, through the unseen, through the uncomfortable, but not to harm you, to reveal what you were born to carry. The other side isn't hiding. It's available, but only to those who refuse to panic in the darkness. Only to those who will keep praying when the heavens are silent. Only to those who trust that even in the absence of light, the voice still speaks. Revelation is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who can feel their way forward when nothing makes sense, who can worship when there's no music, who can fast when there's no breakthrough, who can walk in obedience even when there's no applause. What you're feeling is not a breakdown, it's a breaking open. Your senses are being heightened, your atmosphere is shifting. The shadows are not your enemy, they're your evidence. Evidence that you've entered a realm not everyone is qualified to walk in, and with every moment you spend in that space, something inside you is aligning, quietly, powerfully, prophetically, because when the revelation hits, you won't just come out of the dark. You'll emerge with fire in your bones and clarity in your purpose. Have you started to notice that the shadows are appearing more often lately? Not just once or twice, but again and again, in places you can't explain. You walk into a room and feel something watching. You lie down to sleep and your eyes catch movement that disappears the moment you look directly. You're not alone in this. You're not imagining it. You're being awakened to the prophetic reality that most people will never even acknowledge. Because what's happening isn't psychological, it's spiritual. The signs are multiplying because the veil is thinning. Heaven is no longer hiding its activity behind closed dimensions. Instead, it's seeping into the natural world through codes, through dreams, numbers, impressions, and yes, shadows. But the world doesn't understand shadows. It labels them as superstition, as fear, as hallucination. But those who are spiritually tuned know better. The chosen ones understand that darkness doesn't always mean danger. It often means message. Shadows don't haunt the chosen. They inform them. What you're feeling isn't paranoia. It's perception. You're sensing movements that others can't. You're hearing the frequencies that the average soul filters out. And there's a reason for that. You're being trained. Just like soldiers are trained to detect the slightest shift in wind before an ambush, the watchmen of this era are being conditioned to see the unseen. The shadows you're noticing are not there to frighten you. They're there to prepare you. In every season of spiritual awakening, God releases signs. They are not loud, they are not extravagant. They are subtle, often overlooked, often dismissed, but never accidental. And lately, the frequency of those signs has been increasing. Repeating numbers like 1111, 316, or 444. Coincidences that align too precisely to be coincidences. Dreams that echo reality with prophetic intensity. Whispers at night. Names spoken with no one there. These are all part of heaven's language, and if you're receiving them, it means heaven sees you as ready. The call to become a sentinel of the spirit realm doesn't come through sermons, it comes through sightings. It comes when your reality starts to crack, and something from the other side starts bleeding through. You see things differently now. A photo flickers with energy. A mirror feels heavier when you pass. The atmosphere of certain rooms makes your spirit tense or alert. These aren't random moments, these are signals. The realm of the spirit is watching for those who watch back. God never increases signs without increasing assignments. That means if you're seeing more, you're being entrusted with more. You are no longer being prepared, you are being deployed. You're being trained to walk between dimensions, to pray when others sleep, to interpret when others laugh. The multiplication of signs is not about fear, it's about readiness. And when the shadows begin speaking, the chosen ones begin listening. The world teaches you to ignore what you can't explain. Heaven trains you to explore it. What you're stepping into now is not ordinary. It's divine. You're learning to read the atmosphere. You're learning to respond to impressions. You're learning to trust what your spirit says, even when your eyes can't confirm it. That is the foundation of prophetic awareness. That is how the watchman is born. And that's why you can't dismiss what's happening anymore. You've seen too much, felt too much, been stirred too deeply to go back to ignorance. The signs you're seeing are not there to be feared. They're there to be followed. They're breadcrumbs from heaven leading you into purpose. And they are increasing because the hour is late, the time is short, and the army of the unseen must rise. The war never begins with sound. It begins with sight. Before swords are drawn, before battles break out, heaven opens the eyes of the chosen. The spiritual war starts not in action, but in awareness. And if you've started seeing shadows, patterns, shifts in the atmosphere, then you're not just witnessing something supernatural. You're being summoned to it. You're being drafted into a war that doesn't look like war because its weapons are invisible and its battlefield is perception. Everything starts with what you see, And for the chosen, the first lesson is always in the shadows, not because God wants you afraid, but because he wants you alert. The shadows that surround you right now, the ones that flicker just outside of view, aren't there to haunt you. They're there to prepare you. You are being trained, quietly, strategically. Your discernment is being sharpened by the unseen. Your instincts are being refined not through comfort, but through confrontation with the invisible realm. When God begins to move, he doesn't start with fire from heaven or thundering voices. He starts with a vision. He shows something subtle, a symbol, a shift, a shadow, and waits to see how you respond. Those who ignore it miss the moment, but those who lean in, those who pause, those who sense the Holy Spirit stirring in the middle of the night, those who walk slower through certain rooms because they feel something watching, those are the ones heaven marks. You're not being scared, you're being sensitized. God is awakening your spiritual vision so that when the real war erupts, you'll already be positioned. Think of the prophets. Elijah didn't hear God in the earthquake or the fire, but in the still small voice, and before that voice came, he saw. The vision came first. It always does. Jeremiah saw the branch of an almond tree. Ezekiel saw wheels within wheels. John saw the heavens opened. God showed them something, then moved them into purpose. That's what's happening to you now. What you see isn't just a manifestation, it's a message. The problem is the world has conditioned us to doubt the invisible, to dismiss the flickers, the nudges, the anomalies, to chalk everything up to coincidence or imagination. But the spiritual realm doesn't operate on logic, it operates on alignment. What you see in this hour is not meant to make sense to the natural mind, it's meant to prepare your spirit. Because war is coming, and the ones who've seen it first will be the ones who survive it best. That's why your eyes are opening in strange places, why you've begun to feel things in certain locations, why the shadows don't feel empty anymore, they feel alive. You are being recalibrated for spiritual battle. The visions, the dreams, the patterns, they are part of heaven's intelligence system, and you've been chosen to receive those signals because you have what it takes to handle them. The rest of the world is asleep, but you're seeing clearly now. It's not about fear, it's about formation. The Spirit of God is revealing things to you because he intends to move through you, and that starts with sight. What you are seeing now is not just real, it's relevant, it's prophetic, and you have to pay attention. Every shadow, every dream, every whisper, they're all tools for training. Heaven doesn't waste revelation. If it's showing you something, it's because there's something coming, and you need to be ready before it arrives. So don't dismiss what you're seeing. Don't brush off the flickers and shifts. The war doesn't start with violence, it starts with vision, and what you see now will determine how prepared you are when the real battle breaks loose. The eyes of the chosen aren't open by accident, they're open by assignment, and that means if you're seeing more, you're being trusted with more, not to panic, but to prepare. If you are seeing shadows, it means you're standing close to the light. It means heaven has identified something in you that others don't carry. Most people are spiritually blind, caught in the noise of everyday life, numbed by the weight of distraction. But not you. You've been pulled out of the fog. You've been placed in front of something ancient, something real, something few dare to approach. And what you're seeing, it's not an accident. It's not confusion. It's clarity breaking through. Because not everyone is called to see past the veil. Not everyone is meant to perceive what heaven reveals. The veil isn't just a concept. It's a filter, a barrier between dimensions, between the seen and the unseen. When God lifts it, even slightly, it's because you've been marked, because he trusts you to carry the responsibility that comes with sight, that flicker in your peripheral vision, that presence that walks behind you when you're alone, that sensation in your chest when everything is still but your spirit is on fire. That's not imagination, that's assignment. And here's the truth that most people won't tell you. What lies beyond the veil is not always beautiful. It's not soft. It's not sweet. It's often overwhelming, unsettling, raw. It shakes you, breaks you, makes you question everything you thought you knew about the natural world. But that's the point. Because if it didn't shake you, it wouldn't wake you. And heaven is not looking for passive observers. It's looking for prophetic participants. What you're experiencing is the threshold of transformation. You're not just being shown these things. You're being invited into them. The shadows you've seen are not signs of danger. They are the edge of revelation. Every step closer to the veil is a step deeper into purpose. You feel it, that pull, that heaviness in the atmosphere, that call to intercede in the middle of the night, that urgency in your bones when you walk into certain rooms. You've crossed into the space where spiritual vision replaces natural logic, because God doesn't reveal the other side just to impress you. He reveals it to activate you. Every vision is a message. Every shadow is a signpost. Every supernatural encounter is a doorway to your assignment. You are not seeing what you're seeing just so you can talk about it. You're seeing it because heaven has deployed you. The prophetic realm is recruiting voices right now. Voices that won't run from the dark, but will speak to it with authority. And if you're still reading, still watching, still leaning into this message, it's because you are one of them. There's a reason your dreams have become more vivid, a reason your nights feel longer, a reason you've started recognizing patterns, symbols, numbers, repeated locations, people from the past suddenly resurfacing. These aren't coincidences. These are coordinates. Heaven is mapping your path through layers of reality that most people ignore. And if you're sensitive enough to notice them, then you're strong enough to carry them. But make no mistake, the revelation comes with responsibility. Once you've seen the other side, you can't go back to pretending it doesn't exist. Once the veil lifts, you either respond or you retreat. And the chosen don't retreat. They rise. They move forward, even if they're afraid. They pray louder, even when the night is silent. They trust deeper, even when logic can't explain what's happening. You've been given eyes to see for a reason. What comes after the veil is not for the curious. It's for the called. It's for the ones who can sit in silence and still hear instruction. For the ones who can look at a shadow and see a sign. For the ones who know that what feels like a haunting is often a holy encounter. The veil doesn't part for comfort. It parts for purpose. And you are being equipped, not with weapons of this world, but with sight, divine sight. And if you're asking, why me? It's because heaven sees what you carry. What you're seeing now isn't just a manifestation of your sensitivity. It's the unlocking of your destiny. The other side is revealing itself to you because you're ready to walk in the authority needed to confront it. You're not being tormented. You're being trusted. And what comes next is even deeper. Because if you're seeing shadows now, it's only a matter of time before you realize what you're truly up against. The war you've been feeling inside. It's not against flesh. It's against the systems of the world, the false altars, the idols that society bows to without realizing. And in the next message, we'll go there. We'll unveil the next layer. Because the next episode is titled, "And If the Chosen One was Sent to Destroy What the World Worships." Are you ready for that kind of revelation? Now, if this touched you deeply, if you felt something move in your spirit while reading this, I want you to do something bold. Leave a comment that says, "I was marked by the vision." That single line isn't just a response. It's a declaration. It tells the algorithm that this message is hitting the right people. And it tells heaven that you're still awake, still watching, still standing. If you are seeing shadows, it means you're standing close to the light. It means heaven has identified something in you that others don't carry. Most people are spiritually blind, caught in the noise of everyday life, numbed by the weight of distraction. But not you. You've been pulled out of the fog. You've been placed in front of something ancient, something real, something few dare to approach. And what you're seeing, it's not an accident. It's not confusion, it's clarity breaking through. Because not everyone is called to see past the veil. Not everyone is meant to perceive what heaven reveals. The veil isn't just a concept. It's a filter, a barrier between dimensions, between the seen and the unseen. When God lifts it, even slightly, it's because you've been marked. Because he trusts you to carry the responsibility that comes with sight, that flicker in your peripheral vision, that presence that walks behind you when you're alone, that sensation in your chest when everything is still, but your spirit is on fire. That's not imagination. That's assignment. And here's the truth that most people won't tell you. What lies beyond the veil is not always beautiful. It's not soft. It's not sweet. It's often overwhelming, unsettling, raw. It shakes you, breaks you, makes you question everything you thought you knew about the natural world. But that's the point. Because if it didn't shake you, it wouldn't wake you. And heaven is not looking for passive observers. It's looking for prophetic participants. What you're experiencing is the threshold of transformation. You're not just being shown these things. You're being invited into them. The shadows you've seen are not signs of danger. They are the edge of revelation. Every step closer to the veil is a step deeper into purpose. You feel it. That pull, that heaviness in the atmosphere, that call to intercede in the middle of the night, that urgency in your bones when you walk into certain rooms. You've crossed into the space where spiritual vision replaces natural logic, because God doesn't reveal the other side just to impress you. He reveals it to activate you. Every vision is a message, every shadow is a signpost, every supernatural encounter is a doorway to your assignment. You are not seeing what you're seeing just so you can talk about it. You're seeing it because heaven has deployed you. The prophetic realm is recruiting voices right now, voices that won't run from the dark, but will speak to it with authority. And if you're still reading, still watching, still leaning into this message, it's because you are one of them. There's a reason your dreams have become more vivid, a reason your nights feel longer, a reason you've started recognizing patterns, symbols, numbers, repeated locations, people from the past suddenly resurfacing. These aren't coincidences. These are coordinates. Heaven is mapping your path through layers of reality that most people ignore, and if you're sensitive enough to notice them, then you're strong enough to carry them. But make no mistake, the revelation comes with responsibility. Once you've seen the other side, you can't go back to pretending it doesn't exist. Once the veil lifts, you either respond or you retreat. And the chosen don't retreat, they rise. They move forward even if they're afraid. They pray louder even when the night is silent. They trust deeper even when logic can't explain what's happening. You've been given eyes to see for a reason. What comes after the veil is not for the curious. It's for the called. It's for the ones who can sit in silence and still hear instruction. For the ones who can look at a shadow and see a sign. For the ones who know that what feels like a haunting is often a holy encounter. The veil doesn't part for comfort. It parts for purpose. And you are being equipped not with weapons of this world, but with sight. Divine sight. And if you're asking, why me? It's because heaven sees what you carry. What you're seeing now isn't just a manifestation of your sensitivity, it's the unlocking of your destiny. The other side is revealing itself to you because you're ready to walk in the authority needed to confront it. You're not being tormented, you're being trusted. And what comes next is even deeper, because if you're seeing shadows now, it's only a matter of time before you realize what you're truly up against. The war you've been feeling inside? It's not against flesh. It's against the systems of the world, the false altars, the idols that society bows to without realizing. And in the next message, we'll go there. We'll unveil the next layer. Because the next episode is titled, "And If the Chosen One Was Sent to Destroy What the World Worships." Are you ready for that kind of revelation? Now, if this touched you deeply, if you felt something move in your spirit while reading this, I want you to do something bold. Leave a comment that says, "I was marked by the vision." That single line isn't just a response, it's a declaration. It tells the algorithm that this message is hitting the right people. And it tells heaven that you're still awake, still watching, still standing.